Frederick Douglass begins to speak out. In 1838, Frederick Bailey, with his new name, Frederick Douglass, and his new wife, Anna, arrived in New Bedford, Massachusetts. This was a busy port with whaling ships, either setting out on their long journeys or coming home with hundreds of barrels of valuable whale oil. In New Bedford, Frederick could get work on the docks as he had in Baltimore. But here, the 2 silver half-dollars that were paid him were his, not something he had to turn over to his master. Here, he was free. And here, he and Anna were part of a black community, all of whom were free. It was a wonderful feeling. At the same time, it was a struggle to adjust to his new freedom, to decide what to do with his life. He subscribed to William Lloyd Garrison's paper, The Liberator. He was thrilled to open it up one day and find mention of a talk he had been asked to give to a New Bedford abolitionist group about his life as a slave. William Lloyd Garrison was a great man in Frederick's eyes. 4 years later, when the opportunity came to meet him, 21-year-old Frederick jumped at the chance. Robert Coffin, a New Bedford abolitionist, had urged him to attend a large anti-slavery meeting that was going to be held on Nantucket Island in August of 1841. It was the first time he had left his wife and young children, but Coffin was there to meet him. As they walked past the fine houses of this wealthy whaling community, Coffin told Frederick that he was counting on him to get up and speak to this group of mostly white abolitionists. Nantucket also had a black community, and both active abolitionists and free black men eagerly joined the overflowing crowd that made its way into the hall. The agile young man climbed up on the rafters for a better view. So many people! Not only William Lloyd Garrison, but so many other important people. How, Frederick wondered, could he get up and presume to speak to them? When they called on him, he hesitated. Then he forced himself to stand and climb onto the stage. As he began to speak, his voice was tight and he stammered and apologized. But he was on stage. He had something to say that they wanted to hear. And the fright passed. When he finished, the audience cheered and clapped. They crowded forward to shake his hand, praising his wisdom and wit and his intellectual power. As Frederick later wrote in My Bondage and My Freedom, he himself could not remember a word that he'd said. Nonetheless, the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society asked him to go on a lecture circuit for them. That August night was the beginning of a great career. Frederick Douglass became famous as year after year he spoke out powerfully not only against slavery, but against oppression and prejudice in whatever forms they took. In April of the same year that young Frederick Douglass gave his first important speech, John Quincy Adams gave his last speech before the Supreme Court. It, too, concerned slavery. In 1839, African slaves on a Spanish ship, Amistad, seized the ship from their captors. Trying to return to Africa, they were captured by the American Navy off Long Island. Bringing slaves out of Africa was by now illegal in the United States, in England, and supposedly Spain and its colonies. But the dreadful trade continued illegally. To disguise it, the Spanish traders gave each African a Spanish name. The African's leader, whose name was Sengbe Pai, among his people, the Mende, was called Joseph Cinque by the Spanish. Though none of the Africans knew English, one, an 11-year-old boy named Cale, eventually learned enough so that he could write this letter when Adams was about to go before the Supreme Court on their behalf. Dear friend, Mr. Adams, I want to write a letter to you because you love Mende people and you talk to the Grand Court. We want to ask the court what we did wrong. What for Americans keep us in prison? We know God punishes us if we tell lie. We speak truth. All we want is to make us free. Adams won their case, and the Amistad Committee, which would become the American Missionary Association, helped them return at long last to the country of Sierra Leone in Africa.